Wednesday night, Dynamite, NXT, those two fight, Raw and SmackDown, load of bollocks, Jericho's making us alcoholics, WTF moments. There's a few. Yes, as we recover from the utter disaster that was Christmas Day and the doom that was yet another Lynx Africa gift set to open on Christmas morning. Ma'am, will you stop it for God's sake? It is time to take a look back at the year that was 2019, which was quite simply the most monumental year in professional wrestling history since 2001. Tell me it wasn't and I will call you a contrarian and a lying piece of crap. Merry Christmas. But before we get on to my top 10 WTF moments from AEW and WWE from this year, yes, just those two promotions, because that's what I cover in this studio. It is time for a list of honourable mentions that is way bigger than Finn Balor's phallus, and that's a big thing to begin with. Shorty G being a thing. Daniel Bryan looking 10 years younger at the end of the decade compared to how he did at the start. Shane McMahon was a WWE champion in 2019. Shane McMahon defeated Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia in 2019. The lights out orgy with all of the barbed wire and other stuff. WWE 2K20. Jeff Jarrett at the Royal Rumble. The Shield's last ever match, which wasn't the Shield's last ever match. They got a full-on pay-per-view as well. Old man Chris Jericho knew Scorpio Sky's high school crush, Menely Parsons, while she was in high school, even though Chris Jericho is a comparatively older man. Jim Ross versus Names. Sonya Deville's finisher where she DDTs herself. Big E doing Steiner math on WWE TV while wearing a nappy and a top hat. Ronda Rousey trying to drive a police car even though her hands were tied behind her back. Charlotte Flair. Penelope. Undertaker out of kayfabe on something produced by WWE. He called himself a mark and everything. Sonya and Mandy touchy-feely one week, forgotten about the next. EC3, $100. Mayor Glenn Jacobs still got it. Sami Zayn mentions AEW by name on WWE Raw. Give me what I want. Batista falling in the ring at WrestleMania. Batista falling for Dana Brooke, and Dana Brooke falling for Batista. Batista making Ric Flair fall over on Ric Flair's birthday without the use of alcohol. The nose ring. All Elite Fleet's really boring commentator. The realization that demo is something other than a thing you put in your video game console. Jerry Lawler's King of Love t-shirt. AEW getting Kenny Omega's Twitter handle wrong all the way through from May to November the 28th. Maggle Cole's barefaced lie as to why Mauro Ranallo missed Survivor Series. Those red lights. Finn Balor not using the unbeatable demon persona against Brock Lesnar in a Universal Championship match at the Royal Rumble. Viking experience. Doctor of Thugonomics appears at WrestleMania. John Cena does not have an official pay-per-view match this year. The first full calendar year that's happened since 2001. Dana Brooke getting a pinfall win of sorts on a main roster show. Kickoff show match actually counts for something at this year's Survivor Series. Never forget 2018. Rusev, Lana, Bobby. The hundreds and hundreds of cooks. AEW tag team rules, which don't exist. Dog food. Dom didn't get done, Dom got Dom and dommed Brock. The new Intercontinental Championship, which is lovely, even though the old belt was lovely too. I am still conflicted. Who was eating the pizza? Drake Maverick being a pest even though he's married? Nobody helps locker room leader Roman Reigns at TLC. Ric Flair is looking down on Charlotte. Rick isn't dead, Jerry. Tyson Fury's entrance. Everything to do with Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. The best tag team in the world, even though they're not. Rey Mysterio can't appear on Fox because he's a Raw superstar and he's exclusive to the USA Network. Nobody mentioned the fact he appeared on the first few Friday Night SmackDowns. Two drunk blokes in an empty office is played on the Tron at Full Sail. Beth Phoenix mentions the song these two blunk drunks were singing during NXT commentary, and the crowd in Full Sail sing it for a bit. Hornswoggle chasing Zelina Vega during the Women's Royal Rumble match. Adam Cole being almost completely fine after dying at NXT TakeOver War Games. The Fiend's Universal Championship and the fact it costs over $7,000 for us fans to own. Silly referees everywhere. Sarah Logan ate a deer heart at her own wedding and she appeared on Survivor Series. Lacey Evans becomes Abe Simpson for a long time. Commentators whose first names begin with J saying things they shouldn't. Shawn Michaels' entire wardrobe. Britt Baker at War Games and Triple H claiming he didn't know who she was. Bret Hart attacked at the Hall of Fame. DX's dick references and AEW bashing at the Hall of Fame. Kurt Angle's last match. Rowan carries a camera around in a box and is very protective about it. Jericho losing the AEW Championship. Random man under the ring grabs Roman Reigns. Never referenced again. A women's match takes place in Saudi Arabia. The journey home from Saudi Arabia. Groundbreaking Nia Jax versus Dean Ambrose intergender match announced, but it's not held. Usi hot, and the Usos taking the piss out of the Revival for helping each other to shave their backs. Trent kicking out of Pac's Black Arrow finisher. That man. Meme leads to wrestler selling over 16,000 bottles of the bubbly. Finn Balor moving to NXT and then turning heel. Lana fakes pregnancy. Stay classy, WWE. No wrestling during commercial breaks, damn it! Which led to 1 million 2 out of 3 falls matches every single night. Nia Jax in the Rumble. That shirt. Look at Jake Hager, man. John Cena advertised for the Royal Rumble match before being pulled just as the kickoff show was starting. George! Shelton Benjamin being weird for a few weeks before not being weird after that. Edge not getting pyro at SummerSlam and hitting a professional wrestling move in a WWE ring. MetLife Center, brother. Kiss Sabian. Braun Strowman loses 7th Universal title shot. Lacey Evans' apparent face turn. When the hell did that happen? The Fiend snatches Daniel Bryan bald. Soul Train Jones trying to read. Natalya trusting Sasha Banks at Survivor Series after Sasha Banks turned heel on her and mocked her dead dad in the summer. Severed head in Saudi Arabia. Who would have thought it, eh? I don't give a bollocks about your brand supremacy there. Every Ricky Morton Canadian destroyer. Corey Graves on Twitter. Shane McMahon sweating himself to a win against The Miz, sliding out of his clothes like a child trying to avoid his bath time. First women's WrestleMania main event. Don't mention the ending of it. Riddle going after Goldberg and Lacey and more. AEW not signing the best professional wrestler in the world after he was fired from WWE. Bray Wyatt revealing I am his illegitimate long-lost brother. Wanka! And finally, Alex Jabali. Now let's get cracking with the knacking in the top 10 WTF moments of 2019. And we're starting this top 10 WTF moments for the year with something that's got nothing to do with AEW or WWE. Picture the scene. I'm sat there on my own in my flat on the evening of Sunday, November the 10th, 2019. I'm all alone and there's no one there beside me. So I thought, hey, I'll put that Ant and Dec ancestry program on the television. They're from the same part of the world as me. I might learn something about my family history, you never know. Ant and Dec make their way through Ireland, then out of nowhere, Dec gets a text from the Boffins. The Boffins tell him his DNA has been sent through their global DNA tracking device and they found a cousin match from the United States. The boys are told to watch a clip and it's a clip of TNA wrestling and in particular it focuses on Bully Ray. And I was thinking, well, hey, could television's Declan Donnelly from Ant and Dec fame be related to Bully Ray? But no, unfortunately for Bully Ray, Declan Donnelly doesn't know who he is. What an awful catchphrase. Dec is related to Dixie Pissing Carter from Dallas, Texas. Just in case you're interested, Dec and Dixie share a huge chunk of DNA, which means they are descendants from a common ancestor. It's a 4 times great-grandfather on Dec's paternal side. Dixie arrives at the pub to tell the boys that her father's businesses have done like $5 billion worth of energy business over the past few years. She didn't mention, however, what the hell she did to TNA, of course. All she mentioned about the wrestling is the fact that Bully Ray actually broke her back when he put her through that table. What a noble steed Dixie Carter is, eh? And this, I'm sure you will agree, is just the most random thing in the history of random things. Dixie Carter being related to Declan Donnelly. Who knows? Dec's from Newcastle, Dixie's from America, Dec's in television, YouTube's television, Dixie's in wrestling. I might be related to Vince McMahon, which would then mean Vince McMahon is related to Bray Wyatt. Move on. And speaking of Bray Wyatt, you remember the old Bray Wyatt, don't you? The way WWE had this special performer and shackled him with woohoo spooky magic because it's cool, and then forced this special performer to go out and cut endless rambling promo after endless rambling promo just because he is good at the speaking was absolutely scandalous. He's good at talking, damn it! Get him out there and make him talk! Talk him into the ground! Vince McMahon would have said probably, which is really stupid when you think about it, isn't it? After years of being misused, an underwhelming run alongside Matt Hardy was enough for the old Bray Wyatt to bugger off. And thank the Lord we were thinking, while also thinking, what a shame, what a truly missed opportunity. But then, cast your minds all the way back to the Raw after WrestleMania this year, where these weird vignettes started to play. So with that thing there, having a Hawaiian shirt on, it looks like Bray Wyatt has gone from a dark and disturbing magician to a Jim Henson puppet master. Either that, or he's a massive fan of the movie Thanksgiving, which involves a turkey who says a lot of things that I cannot repeat to you here right now, apart from that's foul play, which is funny because of birds. It's different, so there's that, but as the Cultaholic Wrestling Podcast has taught us all with Matthew Gregg's fetish for a good puppet, everything is better with puppets, so we can't be too surprised now, can we? But let's ruin this moment for everybody now, shall we? Because when you take a close look at the box, that thing there, it just seems half as good as it already was, and it wasn't too good to begin with. It meets European health and safety standards. It can't get wet, it's fragile, its net weight is £10, its gross weight is £15, and it comes from China. You would have thought the people putting that together would have taken all that spiel off the box, wouldn't you? Just takes away the mystique a bit, doesn't it? And then on April 22nd, the first ever Firefly Funhouse arrived, and the entire world melted, and Bray Wyatt saw me parody that. Oh! Now listen up, parents, because Bray Wyatt is now a children's entertainer who will brainwash your child, lead them to a field, murder them right between the eyes with a chainsaw, and I do not know how anybody could want any more from a professional wrestling gimmick. It's amazing. From the clothes to the talking to the puppets, everything's better with puppets, to the hurt glove making them kill things with a chainsaw, the manic laughter, the chainsaw itself, as long as the balance is kept right between murdering psychopath and Dave Benson Phillips, we are on to a winner. Quite frankly, this has the potential to be one of the most freshest and innovative gimmicks we have seen in recent memory, and if there's one guy who can carry it off without being written to shreds like he was with the magical Bray Wyatt, it's Bray Wyatt. And notice how there was a random rabbit in that logo there? If Bray Wyatt comes up with a massive rabbit as his henchman like Adam Rose during an episode, I will clap very hard. Very promising signs indeed, until of course Bray Wyatt steps in the ring and loses every single big match because he's Bray Wyatt and that's what he does. Do not do that this time, please, WWE. And then after that we were introduced to Huskus, to Abby, to Ramblin' and to Mercy, and then Bray Wyatt said he had a secret, and in July, that secret arrived on Monday Night Raw. And then the big, massive in-ring re-debut happened, and of course, Michael Cole ruined it, because that's what Michael Cole does, everybody. The lights came on, we could clearly see who it was, but one person in the arena, one person alive in the world during last night's Raw couldn't work out who it was, and of course, that was Michael Cole, because he was set there going, oh, could it be? I can't believe it! Is it him? Could it be? What's going on? Thank you, Corey Graves, for Christ's sake. Corey Graves is our saviour because he cut out all of Michael Cole's nonsense there by just simply saying, it's Bray Wyatt, it's Bray. But let's take it back to the WTF Moments video from Extreme Rules on Sunday, shall we? But does anybody fancy the sound of Bray Wyatt's Fiend versus Finn Balor's Demon? Because I reckon that's why Finn Balor had his title taken off him last night, because SummerSlam's coming up, and that's the biggest party of the summer, and that's where all the freaks come out with their masks and body paint on and whatnot. That's another pat on the back for this useless sack of spuds who definitely doesn't work for WWE in any shape or form. And then with Halloween fast approaching, WWE quite literally spunked their fiendish load very, very early by inserting the hottest thing in professional wrestling outside of Kip Sabian, of course, straight into the Universal Championship picture. The Fiend did a wrestle against a dickhead in a cage. More about that later, but then on November the 1st, the unthinkable happened. And next up we have Seth Rollins being blinded by that thing there that took place roughly 50 yards away from his face. Like, actually, what was supposed to be happening there? Was Seth because, you know, the lights were down and it was spooky. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Was the sudden flash of bright light supposed to have, you know, harmed his retinas or something? It couldn't have. Well, there's yet another negative for those stupid lights. WWE, if the house lights were up, Seth's eyes would already have been adjusted and he wouldn't have been blinded and he might have still been Universal Champion. I'm glad the lights are off now. And WTF, boys and girls, this match cannot be stopped for any reason, but that pinfall there, that stopped it. I'm a bad man. But forget about that nonsense. They actually did it. They actually did the thing we never thought they'd do. They've done it. They booked themselves into a horrible corner out of nothing other than greed. Oh, the Fiend's popular. Oh, we can sell Mr. Muscle boxes and Fat Man Dance boxes and masks. Oh, let's get him in the title feud already when he shouldn't have been near it for years at least. We've got this one man who beat Brock Lesnar twice this calendar year against this mythical creature who is like the Undertaker, in essence, should not be getting beat by anybody for a very long time. He no-sells offense. Eventually, when somebody beats him, that's a career made. But we can't beat him too soon, so let's put him against another guy we cannot beat. It made complete sense, didn't it? But instead of giving us the bollocks that happened at Hell in a Cell, I tried to murder him. They actually did the thing they should have just done at Hell in a Cell. And then we had the stuff that happened in the build-up to TLC that culminated with Bray Wyatt getting his puppets into the Miz's house, and then those puppets threatening the Miz's 3-year-old daughter. It's bloody magical, isn't it? What a year, but imagine predicting anything I've just said there at the start of 2019. If you did, you need sections, you're dangerous. Now, I must admit that before Super Showdown 2019, I was laughing my fat ass off at the prospect of The Undertaker versus Goldberg after everything that went wrong in that DX versus Undertaker and Kane match in Saudi Arabia, whenever that was. Kane's mask fell off, Triple H's tit fell off, everything that could have gone wrong just about went wrong. As we'll see now, however, that smile and that intrigue, you know, the kind of intrigue when you're driving down the motorway, you see a big crash and you think, oh, I shouldn't look, but let's go and take a picture of some dead bodies. That kind of intrigue left my body as that Undertaker versus Goldberg match took place. To that pissing main event we go, and I think that Goldberg was concussed before he even walked through the curtain. Now apparently WWE told Bill, do not headbutt doors. That is a bad thing to do. It's a stupid thing to do, Bill, but you did it anyway. Look at that picture there. It's clear that you did. You went against the orders. What's the crack with that? And as some of you may have seen, Bill Goldberg missed his pyro, probably because somebody at Gorilla was checking his head for a concussion because he headbutted a door. Bill, why'd you headbutt them doors? Maggle Cole, know your belts. You claim that Goldberg is the only man to hold the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, the Universal Championship, and the WWE Championship, and that's not right. Goldberg, as we all know, in WWE held Raw's World Heavyweight Championship. The WWE title was on SmackDown Live, which wasn't live back then. It was just SmackDown. Silver aprons and everything. Coffins everywhere. Symbolism at its finest at Super Showdown 2019. So then, The Undertaker did not travel to Saudi Arabia on an aeroplane like a normal human being. He teleported there through a vortex or something. Look at him go. So then, to the opening stages of that main event we go, and everything was going swimmingly well. Way better than we could have expected. But then we got to that knee bar, and I'll let Matt Riddle tell you what's for, because he knows about that knee bar, and I don't, quite frankly.
What a knee bar, bro. What a knee bar.
That's just stupid.
Make me mad. You're making me mad. Keep it up. Keep it up, bro.
Although, despite Matt Riddle's sentiments, it must have done something, because coming out with that knee bar, Taker was hobbling. So work that one out. And then came the spear into the ring post, and if Goldberg wasn't already concussed from the headbutt to the door, which he probably was, he was certainly concussed from the spear to the ring post, because that chrome dome, it caught it flush. Now, if you hadn't guessed, I'm not a wrestler. Honestly, it's quite awful for me to stand here and tell Bill Goldberg how to do things in a professional wrestling ring when I'm stood here looking like a fat melted candle. But here I am, it's me job. Bill, don't headbutt the post, hug it with your shoulders. I'm sure that's how it's done. That's the second time now, Bill, that match against Chronic. We all know what happened then as well. Don't let it happen again. And then we have that pissing tombstone, for Christ's sake. And if Goldberg wasn't concussed from the door and he wasn't concussed from the door and the post, he was certainly concussed from his head spiking into the mat. Now once again, if it wasn't obvious already, I'm not a professional wrestler. I do not know the proper mechanics of how to execute a tombstone piledriver, but it's clear that something went horribly wrong for Bill Goldberg's head to spike into the mat like it did. It never normally happens, but it did last night, and I was getting shades of Owen versus Austin, and that's not a good thing. And then we had the rest of the botches in that match, and to be honest with you, I don't want to stand here and take the piss because by this point of the match, it was just sad to watch. We had two of the biggest names of the past 30 years having a match way past their prime, so far past their prime, they weren't just a danger to each other, but they were a danger to themselves. Now I'm sure we've all seen that clip where the Undertaker himself is speaking, saying he doesn't want to be that professional wrestler in the ring, having a wrestling match. A father and a son are sat at ringside, and the father turns to the son and says, I used to watch that man when he was good. But we're already so far past this point, Taker, and it pains me to say this, just give it up please. It's horrible to watch you in the ring. You were great at one time, but now you're so far away from that. It's heartbreaking to watch you. Now I can't stand here and begrudge Undertaker and Goldberg for getting a big payday at this stage of their respective careers, but you've got to wonder how much a big payday is worth when in comparison to their health. Both Undertaker and Goldberg could have been paralysed last night, and I'm not being dramatic here. Go and watch that tombstone and that jackhammer. You have to now wonder if Vince McMahon himself will stop these legend versus legend matches happening, because I don't know about you, I am pissing sick of hearing about retired legends not being able to do human things, normal human things, because they're so messed up. And that match last night, we were one move away from one of them being paralysed. I can't say it enough. Surely Vince McMahon himself has a responsibility on a human level not to put these matches on so one of these people don't seriously get hurt. Now I'm getting all serious here and pissed off, quite frankly, because these two men are legitimate heroes of mine. I was born in 1992. The Undertaker has been wrestling for the entirety of my life. The first VHS I got as a kid was the WWE Superstar Series tape with Bill Goldberg on. I had no idea who he was before I watched it, but I watched it and 7-year-old me was blown away as he flattened everybody in sight. So to know what both of these men are capable of and then to compare it to last night's match, it's just bloody heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, awful. Vince McMahon, please create new stars with bona fide star power, because quite frankly these old names like Goldberg and Undertaker, they need it. Not to mention the professional wrestling business as a whole. You cannot be relying on the likes of Undertaker and Goldberg to draw you a house anymore, because last night proved that they're simply not up to the task anymore of putting on a professional wrestling match to main event a card in a big arena like that.
Don't you forget about Keith.
Brock did it just like that, didn't he? But bloody hell, Brock Lesnar coming back after Seth Rollins took the Universal title away from him was a massive kick in the dick, wasn't it? Let's go back to Money in the Bank 2019. I cannot believe they did it. WWE superstars are complex things. They watch television like this, they can all edit a film together like Steven Spielberg, and they also have to play musical statues when somebody else's music hits and they're in the middle of the ring. Ali, the poor bastard, was stuck like that for roughly 7 hours while Brock Lesnar made his entrance in the main event of last night's show, and there's nothing he could do about it. What does Vince McMahon do to his superstars, which means every single one of them has to play musical statues when somebody else's music hits? They're not normal human beings, are they? Don't worry, they're not wrestlers. They've got health insurance probably. That doesn't matter that Brock Lesnar wiped them all out with ladders flying here, there and everywhere. Careful, Brock. And we end with what has to be potentially the biggest WTF moment of the night. No, it wasn't Brock Lesnar appearing, it was Brock Lesnar winning. He's Mr. Money in the Bank now. WWE sent the fans home happy. They always put smiles on faces, don't they? You go through 4, 5, 6 years of the same old bollocks, everyone gets bored, he goes away again, everyone becomes happy, and other TV ratings haven't been the best, but when are they? They weren't when Brock was there. But what do you do when everyone's thinking, yay, the beast's gone forever? You bring him back and just about crown him. There's an 82% chance, of course, he'll be the next Universal Champion. That's what we all want, innit? Come on! Yeah. Remember when Seth Rollins came back from that massive injury that ruled him out of WrestleMania 32? After such a fantastic run as a heel, he struggled to connect with us fans like a babyface, like we do when we're trying to connect to our brand new stepdaddy. It was a tough wank, wasn't it, that relationship with Seth? However, after a 2018 that saw Seth Rollins wrestle, and then wrestle, and then wrestle some more, Even the biggest diehard Seth Rollins #hater couldn't help but get on side with the bloke. Cast your mind back to this year's Royal Rumble and there was only one potential winner us fans would have accepted, and that was Seth Rollins. As Seth Rollins started the crusade to get the Universal title back from that tyrant, that mercenary, Brock Lesnar. For us fans to enjoy seeing the title each and every week on Monday Night Raw once again. WrestleMania came and went, Rollins got the win, the WWE Universe were salivating for, and then something changed. Something made Seth Rollins a massive, unlikable dick. It all started with Seth Rollins calling WWE the best pro wrestling on the planet on Twitter. And I know there's nothing wrong with somebody standing up for the company they work for, but this year, of all years, with everything else happening in the wrestling world, for Seth Rollins to say that when he did, like he did, he's taking the piss, isn't he? The stuff with Ospreay calling AEW the minor league, saying that Jon Moxley is taking food off his table, saying that intergender wrestling is unrealistic mere weeks before he was scheduled to take on Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. He even went as far as to call the WWE fans fickle. All this from a guy who was supposed to be a top babyface of the WWE, a potential face of the company, a guy to lead the company, and a guy as fans are supposed to be getting behind. And then I guess we might as well mention here right now how Seth Rollins was booked on WWE TV. That didn't help his cause at all. The endless reminders to his relationship with Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch. I know that's not his fault. I know it's not Becky's fault, but it didn't help either of them, did it? Screaming at the sight of the Fiend, the top baby face in the company, literally setting fire and burning down the most popular thing on WWE TV. In and out of kayfabe, this year has been a mess for Seth Rollins, just about. All of this led to an out of kayfabe appearance by Seth Rollins on Corey Graves' podcast, where Seth Rollins said he's just become the man the WWE fans wanted him to be a few years ago, but because he's become this man, people now hate him for it. It just showed that while Seth Rollins was doing these things that made me and you, the fans, turn on him, he was completely oblivious that the things he was doing was making him look like a massive weapon. As we've seen on Raw recently, WWE have sensibly worked this massive knobhead's massive mouth and the mountains of poo he keeps trotting into a storyline. They've taken the Burke from the interviews, they've taken the Burke from Twitter and put him on our screens. He was doing heelish things for a little while there, then eventually they turned him full heel, good and proper. He aligned himself with the AOP, and Seth Rollins, as we're stood here today, is a heel in WWE. Cast your minds back to April, and this is potentially the most unlikely heel turn ever. Think about it. How over as Rover was Seth Rollins coming out of WrestleMania 35? It's unbelievable what he's done to himself. Bloody hell, this one still hurts, doesn't it? Just play the thing. Let's get it over with so I don't ruin your Christmas. This was nothing short of absolute bollocks. Now, we've all read the reports, haven't we, that Fox want to make this new Friday Night SmackDown more sports-centric, more like a real sport. And if this was a legitimate MMA fight, big, massive Brock Lesnar would eat little, tiny, relatively, Kofi Kingston in about 10 seconds. But there's an issue there, Fox, and that is this, what we're doing here, is not a real sport. It's professional wrestling. We tell stories with our fights, we do, and the story we were told during the supposed WWE Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Kofi Kingston is that Kofi Kingston wanted to commit career suicide and lose his title for the crack because he ran forwards and he leapt onto Brock Lesnar's shoulders just so Brock could perform his F5. What the hell was Kofi going for there? And while we're here, why after so many years in WWE is Kofi so naive to do the thing he did? And on top of both of those reasons, we were told maybe that Kofi Kingston's got worse over the past 4 years because Kofi Kingston lasted longer with Brock Lesnar at Beast in the East all the way back in 2015 when Kofi was nothing more than a tag team wrestler. And now it's the one thing personally for me, I'm sure it is for you, it's the one thing that we didn't want to happen, Lesnar squashing Kofi Kingston after the story we've been told about Kofi over the last so many years. But they went and did it. Bloody hell. This one still hurts as well, doesn't it? Just play the thing, let's get it over with, so I don't ruin your Christmas. I have, haven't I? Sorry. And then we get to the finish of that Cell match, and it serves WWE right for spunking their load early and putting the Fiend inside Hell in a Cell just because, ooh, Cell, ooh, red, ooh, mask, and ooh, Halloween, probably, and ooh, popular as well. Now, we all knew, us fans, us common people knew that before this match, the Fiend just couldn't lose, just too soon for that. And we also knew that Seth Rollins, he couldn't lose either, because it was way too soon after Seth Rollins, this normal man, had beat Brock Lesnar, big scary UFC Brock Lesnar, twice this calendar year. And I know that the Fiend perhaps beating Rollins after Rollins beat Lesnar twice would have made the Fiend the undeniable beast in WWE, but you just know that next month, at Survivor Series, WWE, and Vince McMahon in particular, would have been looking already for someone to beat the Beast. They cannot do things long term now. None of this was going to work from the start, so why was it booked? But the way the finish was done was bollocks, because it looked like the referee had disqualified Seth Rollins for using a little hammer after Bray Wyatt had used his big comedy hammer, even though Triple H had used a little hammer for 20 years before this. But since then, we've learned that the referee called off the match because he was scared that Rollins was legitimately going to murder the Fiend Bray Wyatt, and bollocks to that as well. First of all, the Fiend should never, ever, ever be in a position to be murdered this early on into his run. And second of all, this is Hell in a Piss and Cell. We've seen attempted murder so many times over the past 22 years. What's one more? How's that going to hurt? Why does this change now? Now, if this was merely a no disqualification title match, I would understand fully if the referee thought, hey, Bray Wyatt's safety is in danger, I'll call off the match. But this is Hell in a Cell, a stipulation that has set quite a precedent over the past 22 years. Back in my day, Hell in a Cell was the worst stipulation you could get in WWE. Two people, two men who hated each other, had been through every other stipulation possible, with the Cell the last resort to sort their feud out. And in that match, one of them would normally die, or come close at least. So of course, with the past 22 years of the stipulation behind this match on Sunday, we would have thought Rollins Wyatt, the referee lets it go until a winner wins by pinfall or submission or death. Isn't that just the very concept of this match? Maybe not now, but it was beforehand. Maybe, I don't know. So I guess that now that we've got to wait in this modern era until every October to have a Hell in a Cell match, we've got to get used to this now. Back in my day, as I said, the feud would necessitate the Cell, but now the Cell necessitates the feud. Oh, it's available to rent in October. We better book this. It's just bollocks, isn't it? But at the end of the day, in my mind, you cannot just change the severity of the Hell in a Cell match after the 22 years of history, which it has, and I guess they already might have changed it, considering this is the second year in a row a Hell in a Cell match hasn't ended with a conclusive death. What a shame. But again, all of this just comes back to WWE booking themselves into a corner and then getting themselves out of this corner with a result that just pisses off the fans. Just stop pissing us fans off, man. Since last Friday, we've had Kofi Kingston lose his title like he did. We had names like Austin and Undertaker advertised for SmackDown, and Cena as well, only not to be there. And now we've had this bollocks as well. It's a great job. There's not a second mainstream promotion in America for fans with, you know, massive distribution and all that, for them to think, oh, I'm sick of being pissed off by WWE and their crap booking and their lies. I'll go and watch them instead. Oh, there is. And as I said on the Cultaholic Wrestling podcast last week, I don't know about you, but if this wasn't my job, I would scrap watching the main roster, because watching NXT, watching AEW, that looks like a winning combination where you're going to see a lot more good stuff that puts a smile on your face than stuff that you think, oh, I know how to do that better. It just pisses me off. Weird times we live in. So the Fiend is just about dead. The referee calls off the match because he is scared that the Fiend may actually die. But then the Fiend comes back to life, mandible claw on Seth Rollins, blood spitting out of his mouth. A fantastic image to end the night. But just before the blood appeared, there was a few minutes of back and forth. So why wasn't the match restarted? You pissed everybody off. You saw, oh, he's back, he's fine. But you didn't give him the thing that's surely Foley, stretcher, that vibe. I'm just annoyed now. So next up we have the wildcard rule. a thing that was harder to follow than a fly. Honestly, try and follow a fly around a room. It's impossible. Right then, let's go all the way back to May the 6th and let's see how this thing was introduced by Vince McMahon himself. I had an epiphany! Welcome everyone to the wild card rule. That's right everybody, Vince McMahon is a massive monkey because Vinny C, Vinny Do, Vinny Whiz, all over you. Vinny sees no less than 3 SmackDown Live superstars in front of his very eyes on Monday Night Raw and comes up with the wild card rule. The rule that will allow 3 superstars from SmackDown to appear on Raw any week and 3 superstars from Raw to appear on SmackDown any week. It's bloody revolutionary. Just look at how the Dean Ambrose character was booked from week to week to week towards the end of last year. The opening segment to last night's Raw perfectly surmised how the creative process, it seems, works in WWE today. It's just made up from week to week to week. It doesn't have a clear direction. It's made up on a whim. It doesn't make sense. It's disjointed. And it seems that those manatees, or one of those big grey things who write Family Guy, are now also writing WWE. Because as we all know, everybody, it makes complete sense that when you hire 7 million wrestlers, you've got 3.5 million exclusive to Raw, you've got 3.5 million exclusive to SmackDown, you need to use a select group of superstars on both of those shows because you just don't have enough superstars to go around. I know what? I'm a carpenter. I work on thick and girthy wood every single day of the week. Because I work on thick and girthy wood every single day of the week, I bought myself 20 saws. But even though I've got 20 lovely saws, I'm going to use the same 3 saws every single time I go to work on that thick and girthy wood because I want them to die quickly and I don't know what I'm doing. What the hell's going on? And as we all know, after that, the number of superstars allowed on each show, it grew, and it grew some more until there was no number. It became a free-for-all, and it was impossible to follow, just like a fly. Mercifully, Vince McMahon's epiphany died with the superstar shake-up that accompanied Friday Night SmackDown's debut on Fox, and it was never heard from again. Until Sami Zayn found that magical managerial license and NXT's Deonna Purrazzo rocked up to Raw to face Asuka. Never again, Vince, never again. Since TNA stopped being good and started being old and rubbish, WWE had the complete monopoly on professional wrestling in the United States. This all started to change slightly when Dave Meltzer took to Twitter to say, Ring of Honor couldn't sell 10,000 tickets. This caught the attention of one Cody Rhodes, who said, Dave, hold my white wine spritzer. He does not drink beer with abs like those. And then the wonderfulness that was All In happened. The tickets for that show, of course, sold out in 30 minutes. And it was bloody fantastic, wasn't it? The best wrestling show I'd seen at that time for a little while there. In terms of variety, it was fantastic. There was something for every single person watching that show, no matter their professional wrestling taste. It was a brilliant celebration of professional wrestling. And then it started something. It started a ton of rumours that suggested Chris Jericho and Jim Ross were going to start their own wrestling promotion. Remember those? And then the trademarks were filed and the ball started rolling down the hill. All Elite Wrestling, AEW All Out, AEW Double or Nothing, Tuesday Night Dynamite, AEW Double or Nothing. And then it was announced that Cody and the Bucks were going to leave Ring of Honor, and we all became aroused. They were actually going to do it. They're going to do it. And then the announcement came on New Year's Day this year, and bloody hell, what a great year it's been. For my money, of course, in the AEW versus WWE stakes, we've got AEW, we've got NXT, we've got Raw and SmackDown, and then we've got 205 Live. And then we've just got to look at the roster that has been built by those in charge at AEW. 2 names in particular stick out to me as huge WTF moments. Huge! The first of which is Mr. Vince McMahon. I'll never wrestle for another promotion in North America apart from the WWE. Unless they offer me more money than you ever did. And not only that, but AEW have allowed Chris Jericho to do his own thing. The team of writers, it's proven. WWE, you don't need one. What a year Chris Jericho's had. I was thinking, oh my God, what the hell's going on? When Jericho beat Kenny Omega with the debut of the Judas Effect at Double or Nothing. But since then, just about everything Jericho's did has been an absolute joy. And then the other name that has to stand out, of course, is Jon Moxley, the owner of the best debut in 2019 and also the man who is now the most captivating professional wrestler in the world today. And I just want you to take your mind back to when you were sipping your first drink at 12:01 a.m. on New Year's Day and think about how far we've come with AEW. 12 episodes of TV, a few pay-per-views, big names like that. Wow. There was only one choice for number one, wasn't there? And I know where you're going straight away. You're going down there to those comments, aren't you? Well, I've seen you, so stop. Scroll back up to this video box ting. I know CM Punk's contract is not with WWE. I know that to appear on Backstage, he is contracted to Fox. But Renee Young recently revealed that everything we see on WWE Backstage is approved by the higher-ups in WWE. And that means, boys and girls, that CM Punk, that CM Punk, the CM Punk we've been talking about endlessly for 5 years at this point, his appearances on Backstage were sanctioned by those higher up in WWE, by Vince McMahon himself. I have no idea, but that's besides the point really, isn't it? After everything that was said on those podcasts, after WWE for the past 4.5 years or so swept everything CM Punk ever did under the carpet, after CM Punk and WWE seemingly burned every single bridge between them, singing him on that show. And also after everything seemingly pointed to CM Punk arriving in AEW to stick two final massive fingers up the proverbial arseholes of Vince McMahon, of Triple H, of Ryback, of WWE, to see him on anything to do with that WWE logo is nothing short of WTF moment worthy, the biggest of 2019. And that's it for my biggest WTF moments of 2019. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic. Bloody hell. Thank you for being a sexual wank pheasant still for yet another year. If it wasn't for you, I would just be stood here talking to myself, and that would be really sad, wouldn't it? Sadder than the concept of much of the WTF moments I speak about. I'll see you next year. Have a good new year and that. All the best. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us.